The foundational 15 problem continues with looking at the direct labor budget. We can see that question 10 is wanting to know the direct labor cost for July. So if we look at the budget here, the direct labor cost is built based on looking at the required production in units. And so we'll link that up to the production budget, required production. Now we see that there's a certain number of direct labor hours required per unit, which is an assumption provided, and it says that there are 2 direct labor hours per unit of finished goods required. So that means that the total direct labor hours needed are the required production in units times the direct labor hours required per unit. Now there's an hourly labor cost, and that's also an assumption provided. It's on line 20. The direct labor wage rate per unit per hour is 15. So that means that the total direct labor cost is the direct labor hours needed times the direct labor cost per hour. And we can see here that the question was, what's the total estimated direct labor cost for July? And we can see that that is $312,000. Okay, so if we assume that there's no fixed manufacturing overhead and the variable manufacturing is $10 per direct labor hour, we can make a relatively simple estimation of the unit product cost. And so there's a template for that here. In terms of direct materials, we use, remember, 5 pounds of raw materials to produce 1 unit. We use 2 hours of direct labor to produce 1 unit of finished goods. And then our variable manufacturing overhead is $10 per direct labor hour. So we'll go ahead and list the quantity for manufacturing overhead as 2 as well, because it's based on direct labor hour. All right, so the cost for raw materials per pound is 2. The cost of direct labor per hour is 15. And then it says that there's an assumption that manufacturing overhead is applied at $10 per direct labor hour. So if we multiply this, we'll get the direct materials cost as the quantity times the unit cost, the direct labor as the number of hours times the cost per hour, the variable manufacturing overhead applied at 2 direct labor hours per unit times 10 per direct labor hour, and that will give us the total unit product cost of $60. And that would be the answer to the question that says, what is the estimated unit product cost? Now what we can do is now go back and estimate the finished goods inventory balance. We'll do that with the unit product cost. So if we want that balance for July, we can calculate it for several of the months. But we'll go up here. And in the production budget, we have the ending inventory. So we'll assign the ending inventory times the $60 unit product cost. We only have that in one column, so we'll use an absolute reference. So the July finished goods inventory balance is $144,000, which is the answer to question 12. All right, so the last three questions can be answered by creating a budgeted income statement. And so we'll just simply do that for July. We already had sales of July, budgeted up in the sales budget at $700,000. We have unit sales for July, budgeted as $10,000 on row 30. And we're estimating a $60 unit product cost. So that will give us our cost of goods sold, 10,000 times 60. I need to change the format to see the number. And so that's our estimated cost of goods sold. That's part of the answer to question 13. And then the gross margin would be the sales minus the cost of goods sold. So that is the other part of the answer to question 13. All right, now we have assumptions at the top that give two types of selling and administrative expenses. And so the variable selling and administrative expenses, it says, are $1.80 per unit times the 10,000 in unit sales that we are projecting to make in July. And then we've got an assumed $60,000 of fixed selling and admin expenses. So that gives us a total of $78,000, which means that net operating income will be the gross margin minus the total selling and administrative expenses, and that'll be $22,000. So $78,000 is our total selling expenses, question 14, and $22,000 is our estimated net operating income.